There'll always be a person of conscience that raises their hand and says, hey, I'm sorry, this doesn't work for me. A financial crime gets caused or created by a closed net of people. And he had 4 people working on this with him, and they all pled guilty,
Mhm.
and I missed it. They did such a brilliant job of covering over what they did in terms of what they showed you from a due diligence perspective and what they were actually doing. And if you followed the case, it wasn't just me, it was 25 of the largest venture capitalists in the world, sovereign wealth funds, leading investors.
Anthony Scaramucci, the founder of Skybridge Capital, an alternative asset manager and investment advisor, and former White House Director of Communications, thought the idea of a digital currency ridiculous and missed several opportunities to buy the lead digital asset until he heard a pitch about central bank digital currencies during his 10-day stint at the White House since first investing in Bitcoin. Since September 2022, Anthony has grown in the digital assets industry despite setbacks. Anthony sold 30% of Skybridge Capital's shares to Sam Bankman, freeing the founder of cryptocurrency exchange FTX, who was recently convicted of fraud and conspiracy. Anthony spent almost all of 2023 cleaning up the mess, but the 60-year-old American financier and his investment firm are moving on from SBF and FTX and looking forward to the ongoing cryptocurrency industry. Anthony's midterm target is for the leading cryptocurrency to flip gold's $8 trillion market cap, and he believes the moment is closer than everyone thinks before this cycle ends. Please watch the video to the end, smash the like button, and share it with others. For more videos like this, subscribe to
I had people that said to me, I knew Sam was a fraud. And I looked at the person, I said, didn't you have an account at FTX? Yeah, I did. I said, is your account frozen? Yes, it is. Okay, well, how did you know then it was a fraud? If you had an account at FTX, why would you have an account with somebody that's a fraud? So in other words, let's stop lying to each other and tell the truth about things. I think that's where, you know, and I write this in the book and I tell this to my children. If you have integrity, James, you will always have opportunity. Also, if you're nice to people, you can get fired from the White House. You can make a mistake and allow Sam Bankman-Fried to invest in your business, and you will still survive that. You will
Mm.
have friends that come to your aid. To the people on the way up, because they're the same people you meet on the way down, right? Think about like somebody like Elliot Spitzer as an example. He was mean and cruel and arrogant towards people. When he blew up, he blew out.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have mistakes in your life and you can do things that are misguided, but you can also benefit from your goodwill that you've created. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
This is very important. But on Sam, I don't revise history there. I liked him. He was a nice guy. Ask Mike Novogratz. He called me unsolicited through a third party. The third party called me and said, hey, there's a guy by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried. He'd like to talk to you. I said, okay, no problem. He said, yeah, it's got to be 9 p.m. on blah, blah day. I said, why 9 p.m.? Well, he's in Hong Kong. I said, okay, no problem. He had just signed a deal to name the arena in Miami after the company. So I said, okay, this is an up and coming cryptocurrency exchange. I had already been long Bitcoin and an investor. We'll get to the Bitcoin story in a second. But when I got on the phone with Sam, he was this staccato talking, somewhat awkward young man that seemed absolutely brilliant. He explained to me what he was doing. He wanted to sponsor the SALT conference. He wanted to come to New York and he wanted to meet people in that sort of crossover between traditional finance and DeFi. I said, okay, I accepted his money. And by the way, he paid me very quickly. And you're a student of Wall Street, fast pay makes fast friends. And so I said, okay, this guy seems like he's legit. He came to the conference. He had a great time. He then asked me if he could sponsor more conferences. We struck up a deal with him. And then he invited me, and this was a seminal moment for me. And it may not reflect well on me or whatever. I'll just tell you the truth. He invited me to a charity outing at the FTX arena that his 84-year-old aunt was coordinating. She was incredibly nice. and they had given $10 million of scholarship money to some of the poor public high schools in the Miami area. And we were going to do a mock Shark Tank
Hmm.
for these students. And we had Senator Cory Booker there, Maxine Waters, I guess her name is. We had Kevin O'Leary and I. We're going to do the mock judging for them. The parents were there. Sam was there. I thought this was like a great Jewish family where the kid had grown up in suburbia, but on the campus of Stanford University. So I bought hook, line, and sinker into Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, if you want to think worse of me for that, there's nothing I can do about it because it happened. But I did learn something from it, James, and that is a crime like the Madoff crime or the Sam Bankman-Fried crime. It gets created by a small group of people. See, that crime can't happen at Skybridge because I've got 50 different checks and balances going on. I've got an outside administrator, an outside accountant, all blue chip, Pershing as the custodian of the assets, 3 people in control, 1 in compliance, 1 on the legal team. So when you have 50 or 60 people looking at something, there'll always be a person of conscience that raises their hand and says, "Hey, I'm sorry, this doesn't work for me." A financial crime gets caused or created by a closed net of people. And he had 4 people working on this with him, and they all pled guilty, and I missed it. They did such a brilliant job of covering over what they did in terms of what they showed you from a due diligence perspective and what they were actually doing. And if you followed the case, it wasn't just me. It was 25 of the largest venture capitalists in the world, sovereign wealth funds, leading investors.
During the interview, Anthony also talked about the spot Bitcoin ETFs and how important they are for Bitcoin. He said, Wall Street is a selling machine, and it's currently selling Bitcoin. In a recent interview with CNBC, Anthony emphasized the importance of the spot Bitcoin ETFs and said that we are finally seeing the institutional adoption of Bitcoin. He said, I think the institutional adoption is happening now. For example, the state of Wisconsin announced that it would be adopting Bitcoin, and other pension funds are expected to follow suit. Also, Bitcoin now has regulatory approval, which was the last step for a lot of these large institutions. The founder of Sky Capital was talking about the first quarter 13F filings with the SEC, which showed that 414 institutions owned shares in the BlackRock's eShares Bitcoin Trust. These filings are required for institutional investment managers who are in charge of more than $100 million in assets. According to the documents, the U.S. state of Wisconsin Investment Board owns the 6th most shares in IBIT, with about $99 million invested in the trust. In an interview with CNBC, Anthony predicted that spot Bitcoin ETFs would be part of a long-term tactical asset allocation strategy for institutional investors, which is why
they created a software, and it was pointed out during the case. So one of the things about crypto, James, it's perpetual, meaning that the market's open 24/7. So when I get a statement from my brokerage people at the end of a month, like we just ended the month yesterday, whatever the prices were at 4 o'clock, they mail me a statement or they send me one electronically, and they show me what I own, and it's priced as of the end of the day, 4 p.m. What Sam and the crypto world does is when you get that statement, it's priced at midnight on the last day of the month. But what Sam was doing is there were 10 seconds where your money looked like it was in your account. They printed you the statement. And then for the other 365, the other 24 hours, if you will, or 23 hours and 59 minutes, it was in his account. So at midnight, they made it look like it was back in your account. So if you logged on to your app, you saw your money in your account, but it wasn't in your account. He also did something called paper Bitcoin, and not to bore your listeners, but what is paper Bitcoin? So let's say James wants to buy Bitcoin. He calls me. I'm the broker. I'm now making a book on Bitcoin, meaning I don't buy Bitcoin for you, James. I electronically pretend that it's in your account, but I now took the money that you gave me $2 billion worth of it, I might add. I put it in my own account. And so now I am short the price movement of Bitcoin. You think you own Bitcoin. No Bitcoin has ever been bought.
Hmm.
That's paper Bitcoin. He did $2 billion worth of paper Bitcoin. Can you imagine that?
Also, the SEC recently approved 19B4 filings for spot Ethereum exchange-traded funds. This has led cryptocurrency investors to start guessing what will happen next. Many think that the SEC will eventually approve many more spot ETFs based on other cryptocurrencies and even other digital assets. Dogecoin and a few other cryptocurrencies have been voted by the community as the next crypto asset to get a spot ETF. However, Anthony is sure that the honor will go to Solana. In a tweet from last week, the American financier said, "We are going to get a SOL ETF. Get ready." Please share your thoughts and comments on Anthony's interview and his predictions for a SOL ETF in the section below. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. If you want to see more videos like this, you can check out our other videos. They have interviews, tweets, and important advice from some of the smartest people in the business.